everyone. Welcome back to the Nintendo Prime Podcast, Season 2, Episode 23. How we doing? You might notice the podcast is a bit light today. We're kind of kicking it a little old school. It wasn't supposed to be this old school. I technically had at one point 6 days ago, 6 people for the show. 2 of the people they couldn't make it, at a scheduling conflict. And I never asked anyone else, and I figured we're fine. We have 4 people, right? Well, Andres Restart lets me know super late, hey, I'm tired. He's probably sleeping right now. Mm-hmm. So he's not here. And then Darren, maybe he shows up, maybe he doesn't. He's having technical difficulties. So I don't know what the hell's going on with that. So here's what we do have. We still have Nate, and we still have Eric. You know why? Because the show must go on, because we have things we need to talk about. So for starters, I am your host, as always, Mr. Nintendo Prime, Nathaniel Rumble-Jantz. You're going to probably hear me talk a lot more during this show. Maybe we'll see if I can get Eric to talk too. Just kick him a little bit.
What? I got to talk?
He's literally right next to me. Just kick him a little bit. Right. So we got Eric here as well. How's it going, buddy?
Good.
Loud noises. I'm the king of the north. All right. So let's just get into, maybe get into some stuff here. You know what we can talk about quick?
Yeah.
There's one thing we can talk about briefly here, just in case Darren pops back in a moment. We got an event happening next week, don't we?
We do.
A special event. What day does that happen? Do you even remember?
That would be the 8th, 9th,
10th, and the 11th. That's right, folks. We have Prime Gaming Fest coming back. I got my shirt on, my sweatshirt on for. So Prime Gaming Fest coming back next week. It's our biggest giveaway event of the year. Lots of prizes being given out. We have a lot of competitions. We react to a whole bunch of stuff. Summer Game Fest, the Xbox Showcase, Future Game Show, the Devolver Digital Direct, which is back again. Of course it is. PC Game Show, et cetera, et cetera. So we react to all that stuff. We have a Mario Kart 8 Deluxe tournament happening one of the days, where the top 10 people in that tournament all win a prize. We have other giveaways as well. We have competitions between Eric and I. There's some very, very specific competitions. Eric's like, oh no, camera problems again.
Yep, of course.
Just switch to the other camera.
I'm going to.
So we have some other stuff going on as well at Prime Gaming Fest. Competition, some stuff arriving tomorrow and over the next week. We'll be playing some Grim Reaper checkers. And the loser of that also has to spin the wheel of death. Pretty much any competition between Eric and I during the show, the loser has to spin the wheel of death. We have a trivia game. We have other stuff. I don't really want to give away all of it. We have a lot going on, but it is our biggest giveaway of the event of the year. So from basically yesterday through, I guess the 8th, probably going to be reminding you guys every day that we have that event coming up. By the end of this week, we should have all of the streams for that event set up. They are 12-hour streams starting from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Every Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday next week. So only next week.
Yeah. Well, it technically is every Thursday, Friday, Saturday
of next week, right?
Technically, you were correct.
Yeah. So there is that, and I'm going to check on Darren quick. And before we do, let's get into what have we been playing lately. I think I know the answer to this. But Eric, what have you been playing lately?
I actually had my Switch here. I actually brought it with me.
And
was actually playing.
A Switch! It's real.
I was actually a gamer today.
It exists.
Yeah, no, I was actually a gamer today. I was playing some Tears of the Kingdom, obviously.
No, you're playing Switch. You're not a real gamer anymore.
No,
too old.
Yep. No, I played Tears of the Kingdom. I am messing around in the southeast right now, and then I'm gonna head up here once I find the last tower in that southeast corner. I'm gonna head up to the Rito and start going that way because that's what the way the game seems to want to point me. Just because. So.
He's still playing Sparks of Hope.
No,
you heard of him? Dude, Tears of the Kingdom priorities.
I've beat that.
Yeah, there's new DLC coming, but it's not here yet.
It's not here yet.
We got Tears of the Kingdom.
I beat the tower. We're good.
Tears of the Kingdom.
Might still.
No, you're just popping in and out because you're on a crap camera now. It is what it is.
There is that. We're gonna have to look to replacing that cable. I think is what.
I I have other cables.
Yeah, I know,
but
not right in this immediate vicinity.
There's the one that used to be running from there to here, and it's not connected to anything. It's just sitting there.
Is it?
Yeah.
No.
So I have other USB-C cables. Yes.
Fair enough.
Anyways, so technical difficulties aside,
It wouldn't be a podcast.
It wouldn't be a podcast.
with us two.
with us too, without technical difficulties. Then you have me. What have I been playing lately? I have been playing, well, Tears of the Kingdom. Come on, like, there's anything else? I don't want to say anything else worth playing because let's be honest, this week's been a really great week for a number of gamers. Yeah, if you're playing Tears of the Kingdom, every week's a great week for you. But Street Fighter 6 came out, or got reviewed anyways. Was it got like a 92 on Metacritic? Like, congrats, Street Fighter 6 for pulling that off. And then Diablo 4 reviews dropped, and that was like 88, 89. So like Diablo 4 seemed to deliver, Street Fighter seemed to deliver, like hell of a good week for games. So we got Tears of the Kingdom. So it's just been really, really nice to see a lot of really good games releasing lately. Obviously, in terms of Tears of the Kingdom, probably a Game of the Year contender, but even with those other ones, it's just nice to have a lot of really good games. And this has sparked a lot of conversations across the internet over, is this the best year in gaming? I think that's a little premature. 3 really good games, one of them being a GOTY contender, doesn't necessarily mean best year ever. We got a long ways to go.
I still think the opening year's better.
Well, opening year, you could argue for Switch, but I mean, when people say this, we're talking the whole gaming industry, and it's like, well, yeah, but not everything. Like Redfall didn't hit.
Yeah.
And that was a big flub for Xbox. Now, Hi-Fi Rush, though, on the opposite hand, shadow drop game, very, very good. But then PlayStation, right? They launched with Forspoken to start the year. Yeah, it wasn't really that great, unfortunately. But then Nintendo came through with a solid Fire Emblem game with Fire Emblem Engage. So it's been kind of hit or miss all year. I'm not saying everything from Nintendo's a hit. I mean, I'm a little biased for Nintendo. I have a hard time seeing any other games this year that weren't at least decent. Mm-hmm. Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe, decent. It was always a decent game, and the deluxe version is not really any worse than what it used to be. And then, you had Bayonetta Origins, which, yeah, that was also pretty good. But we don't have to go back too far because we can go all the way back to November of last year where Scarlet and Violet was kind of a mess. So not everything goes smoothly for all companies. I was like trying to find a negative release for Nintendo, and I was like, there has to be something Nintendo's published that's negative. That's the one. But at the same point, it's
sold like hotcakes.
Well, I mean, it's Pokemon. I mean, some games are just immune to the things. Anyway, so Tears of the Kingdom. That's what I've been playing, and I have completed 3 dungeons now. I've completed 3 dungeons. I don't know how many there are. Obviously, the quest line points out 4 locations, so you assume 4, like Breath of the Wild. But I've heard there's more beyond that, so we'll see what happens there. So I'm 3 dungeons in. Eric is 1 camera out.
God, right?
I might go. I might go do. I know I can go do a technical fix for it. Well, you talk for a moment because I'm going to try running that webcam through my computer over here and see if it has problems.
Yeah.
That being said, before
because that's the built-in webcam too.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but I know built-in webcams are terrible. So Eric, we have 2 topics today, but I do want to get one thing out of you. What are your thoughts on Tears of the Kingdom so far?
Holy crap. Put me on the spot, why don't you? No. Well, welcome to the podcast. Throw Eric on the spot. I'm having a lot of fun with it. To the point of, I mean, it's very, I haven't gotten too deep into it yet, so it's very Breath of the Wild-esque right now. So it's still really freaking good. Yeah, I think it's awful. Yeah, totally think it's just the absolute worst game ever made. But I've not into it too far. So it's still kind of like I said, Breath of the Wild-esque, which is phenomenal. It is what it is. But I'm working my way towards the first dungeon here, probably in the Rito area. So gonna head that way sometime soon, as and just kind of keep going through the story and kind of get up that way and see where I end up from there. So,
thoughts on the story so far? Early games.
Thoughts on the story so far.
Early game story. This is like opening.
Yeah. No, it's really good. I found a few of the tiers, and those cutscenes are absolutely ridiculously insane. Awesome. Love it. It I really should what am I looking for? Actually figure out what order they go in and actually figure out and go through the story. I've tried doing that, hunting them down a little bit.
Have you done a dragon tier yet?
I'm not sure. So probably not.
That's going to be a no because you don't even know what a dragon tier
Probably
is.
not. But so
hey, not everyone has to know everything.
Yeah, well, I just found out something you didn't know today. So
what was that? I don't even know.
The wreath thing from the rings.
It doesn't sound important.
Yeah, no. I mean, I'm guessing it's just a. There I am.
Working camera this time.
Right. I'm guessing it is something that you get for visiting all of the rings in Kakariko. So it's something I'm guessing that you just hang in your house, but don't know because all of a sudden I bought it for I think 20 rupees and I was standing there holding it above my head, and all of a sudden I'm like, what do I do with this? I don't know what to do. So, man. I was like, cool. So I dropped it on the ground and ran away.
Wow. All right. So let's get into our actual first topic today. And I still don't have the topic list up, but I'm pretty sure I remember it being about the Dolphin Emulator.
Yeah, yes.
So Nintendo hates the Dolphin Emulator. This is the first time Nintendo has come out publicly and called an emulator illegal. So to give some background on this, for those that didn't keep up with the story, the Dolphin Emulator was set to release on Steam. All right. They announced it back in March that they were working on a version that would run on Steam. Now, obviously, this became a big deal, not because it's on Steam and you can play it on PC. You can already play it on PC. It was because of Steam Deck and being able to work natively with Steam's operating system by actually having it natively available through Steam. So that was sort of the big bugaboo there. Now, Nintendo decided that they didn't like that. So as the story goes, according to somebody who actually works on the Dolphin Emulator, Valve reached out to Nintendo and asked what they thought about Dolphin releasing on their platform. Now, it is notable. People talk about there being emulators on Steam and yada, yada, yada. There is not a PlayStation, Xbox, or Nintendo emulator on Steam. To be clear, none of the major platform holders actually have emulators officially on Steam. So while you could find some emulators for Atari and stuff like that, the big three right now currently have no Steam-approved emulators. Now, that being said, doesn't mean people haven't found a way to boot emulators into it and yada, 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 and make it run. Like, there's a whole bunch of videos out there about adding emulators into Steam to make them usable on your Steam Deck and stuff like that. So people are already doing that, but it's not like native. You don't just search for, say, the Yuzu emulator and boom, now you have the Switch emulator. It's on Steam. That's not really how it works. All right. So to be clear, Steam hasn't really allowed any of those emulators to be on their platform. Now, Valve reached out to Nintendo and asked them, what do they think about the Dolphin emulator? Nintendo, and this was Valve's legal team reaching out. Nintendo's legal team responded and basically said, we think the emulator is illegal. We think it breaks some certain clauses of DMCA. Will you please remove it? Now, they did not file a legal claim. This is the big thing. What this amounted to is Nintendo being like, hey, it's like a cease and desist letter. It means nothing. It's just asking you to do something because they don't like it. That's what a cease and desist really is. It is not threatening a lawsuit. It is saying, will you please remove this? If you don't, maybe we'll do something. Nintendo never filed a 512 Section C anything to get it taken down. Nintendo did not legally take out the Dolphin emulator. They just asked Steam to remove it. Valve said, you know what? No problem, man. We'll remove it. Now, in Valve's terms of service, it states quite plainly that Valve has the right on their platform to remove anything for any reason, which is pretty typical. Most platform holders have that in their terms of service. It is just a blanket, hey, this is our platform. We have full control of our platform. Cool. So, because Dolphin Emulator got kicked off of Steam, by the way, it never actually officially released on Steam, just the Steam page was taken down. And because it got kicked off Steam, but the way that it was kicked off means the Dolphin Emulator people don't have any legal recourse. They can't sued Nintendo to get back on Steam because they weren't actually removed for a legal reason. It was simply Nintendo asked and Valve complied. So because of that, there's nothing Dolphin can really do to get back on Steam at all. Now, this is where things get really sticky. So Nintendo was asked by Kotaku to make a public statement on this. What is their real reasoning? Do you have a comment? And Nintendo responded. And they basically went to a long-winded way of saying this emulator is illegal. It contains keys for Nintendo Wii games, which it does. It actually contains the decrypting tool that was used for Wii. So basically, you can put encrypted Wii files in the emulator and it'll decrypt it. And Nintendo created that encryption stuff. So technically, they're using something that Nintendo created. All right. So that was Nintendo's stance. They called the emulator illegal. They called emulation illegal. They called ROMs illegal, which ROMs in general, unless you dump your own stuff, is pretty much a complete legal gray area. It's pretty certain that ROM distribution is definitely illegal. ROM downloading is supposed to be illegal, but it's not really enforced that much. Maybe because just too many people do it to really enforce it. But distribution is way illegal, and Nintendo's won many lawsuits over distribution of ROMs. The interesting thing in all of this is not only that Nintendo called the Dolphin emulator illegal, which is interesting because if it is, then why isn't Nintendo going after them legally? Not just on Steam. They can get the entire Dolphin emulator shut down. Mm-hmm. And it's because we don't actually know if it's illegal. And here's the main issue with why we don't know if it's illegal. Most things with emulation have never been tested in court. So is it illegal to have an encryption key decryptor from the Wii in Dolphin? It sounds like it would be, but we don't actually know because it's never been tried in court. In fact, the court case that everyone refers to that says emulators are legal, that's not actually what the court case said. The court case happened all the way back in 1999 when Sony went after an emulator for PlayStation, saying that emulating PlayStation games is illegal. Now, Sony technically lost the lawsuit on a technicality. The technicality had something to do with the PlayStation BIOS, and something within that BIOS allowed the emulating company to win. Sony's response to that was, we're going to buy out the company and shut the emulator down anyway, which is exactly what Sony did. But here's the thing. Everyone points to that case as stating emulation is legal because of this case. But actually, it was a very specific thing with a BIOS for PlayStation that made it legal. That didn't actually blanket mean that it's all legal. So here is the conundrum for Nintendo and the conundrum for people who like emulation. For Nintendo, they can just blanket say it's illegal, but if they don't press a lawsuit, it doesn't matter. And why won't they press a lawsuit to take down Dolphin? Because they don't actually know if it's illegal. So if they take it in, they could lose. And if they lose, that sets the precedent that now all emulators can include decryption tools. Beyond that, emulators don't want to go to court because if they lose, emulation could actually be filed as illegal. And now, not that emulators wouldn't exist, but they wouldn't be able to be freely distributed the way they are now, where you could just go to Dolphin, emu.whatever and download the thing, or go to Yuzu, or go to Raiju Jinx for Switch, and just how easy those are freely and easily available to download, same for the PlayStation and Xbox emulators out there. If emulators lost, all those websites would be shut down. So there's incentive on both sides to never try this in court because nobody wants to lose because it's really bad for either side. Mm-hmm. So when we talk about is emulation legal, and this is a huge thing that people bring up, emulation is 100% legal. It's not, because it's never actually been tried in court. Is emulation legal has never actually gone to court. So because of this, we're stuck in this situation where we have our opinions, but frankly, Nintendo really hates Dolphin. They've never called any other emulator illegal, to be clear. But man, what are your thoughts? That's the story.
Yeah.
That's the facts. You guys don't have to like the facts. You can hate me saying that emulation isn't guaranteed to actually be legal. It's the fact. It's never actually gone to court to find out if emulation itself is legal. However, what are your thoughts, Eric?
I mean, if they are actually using proprietary stuff in their emulator, I can see how it's illegal. The actual act of emulation itself, whether it's illegal or not, again, as you said, it's kind of a gray area.
It's always been a gray area.
That part is, but it's always been a no-no if you're using proprietary stuff in your stuff without permission. So yeah, I could see why they would hate Dolphin if they're actually using Nintendo's stuff.
Yep, they're using the AES 12 key thing or whatever.
Now, if they've found a way to write it themselves to crack the keys, there's nothing Nintendo can do about that.
So here's how other emulators do it. Now keep in mind, games weren't encrypted back in the day. So like NES emulators, SNES emulators, like there's no encryption.
Yeah.
And you could just, like with Wii, it's stupidly easy, by the way, to just, when you dump your files, to just dump decrypted already Wii files, and you don't even need an encryption thing.
Nice.
That's because Wii's security system was completely busted. It just basically didn't ever work.
Nice.
That being said, a lot of the more modern encryption ones do work. Switches, as an example, does work. You can't dump a decrypted Switch file and just play it, right? So when you use a Switch emulator, whether it's Yuzu or Ryujinx, what happens is the emulator isn't using anything illegal, but the emulator can't actually play the game unless you go get the illegal key files. So that's a whole nother thing where the emulator, the piece of software, might not be illegal. Maybe, we don't know, gray area,
right. Yep.
But technically doesn't even function without injecting an external, potentially illegal file. So this is where the whole thing comes up, where this is all legally gray because we don't actually know if it's illegal. This is, it sounds like pretty black and white. Oh, if you're using something off of their BIOS, off of their system, off their security measures, it's illegal. Sounds like it, but is it? Is it? Yeah. It's kind of like when people go, oh, well, this game is 20 years old, so now it's public domain. Doesn't exactly work that way, even though there is a law that does state that. There's a lot of things tied in with that. Would have to be letting trademarks go, having to, if you ever wonder why you see like Nintendo, why did they renew a trademark for Donkey Kong Arcade? Because they don't want to lose the rights to their own game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's a lot of stuff in there. Like, as an example, Mickey Mouse is much older than everyone else and still isn't in the public domain.
It's
getting close to the limitation.
Sorry, Steamboat Willie.
Yeah, Steamboat Willie. It's getting close to, because there's a 20-year period, and then there's a longer period where no matter what, it's supposed to become public domain. But even then, the laws are always changing. So who knows if by the time Mickey Mouse hits that point of it's impossible for any law to protect it if it will remain public domain. The point though is this. Emulation is something Nintendo obviously hates. They go after it harder than pretty much any company. Now, Sony's the only one to ever actually try a lawsuit over it. Nintendo's never actually tried a lawsuit over emulation itself. They've only gone for lawsuits over ROMs. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know really what to think about this because something else interesting has happened in the world of emulation. This just recently was announced. So the thought process is Nintendo's not shutting down Dolphin, but they just don't want it to be available on a platform that makes you able to play Switch games on a platform similar to Switch and Steam Deck. Cool. You can kind of sort of see Nintendo's legal logic to be like, we don't want people playing Switch games that easily on your Steam Deck. People are already doing it, but just natively like that. Okay. Yuzu, a very popular Switch emulator, just released on Android. Officially released.
But here's
on Android.
Here's the difference, though. Steam actually reached out to Nintendo. Android probably did not reach out to Nintendo to say.
Also, Android's an open platform, and
There's also that
there
too.
ain't nothing you can do about it. You drop an APK and install.
That's very true. That's also very, very
So,
true.
like, you can't stop it anyways. So it's very interesting that happened. And yes, by the way, a lot of Switch games run really well on Android. You might go, what? Huh? Phones have been so far ahead of the Switch's technology for so long. Like, it's not really that surprising if you pay attention. So that's another thing. And Nintendo can't do anything about that because it's open. See, Steam is not an open platform, but Android is. So even if it can't get on the Google Play Store, even if it couldn't get on the Amazon apps, it could still release on Android. And that's one thing people love about Android is you can have any app. Any app can be on Android. Apple,
whether good
you
or
notice
bad.
we didn't say usual release on that. It's a closed ecosystem. It'll probably never release officially on the Apple App Store because Apple wouldn't let it happen.
No.
Now, why? Because they love closed ecosystems, and just like they don't want their stuff being on other people's platforms, they will respect that a company like Nintendo doesn't want that either, even though potentially it might be legal. But again, might be, not is. So, oh man, it's just it's an interesting world that we live in. I'm going to throw this out to the chat a little bit. Well, Eric, do you have any additional thoughts? Now, I mean, you can switch games on Android. Like, well,
yeah, right. I know you were saying that the other two don't work unless you inject the, key into them, which then actually puts that into a gray area too, because technically the software itself doesn't work without the illegal act, and it's not the company that's performing the illegal act. Oh, good God.
But it's still all legally great because the court case pointed back to for emulation being legal technically didn't confirm that emulation is legal.
Right.
They confirmed something within the PlayStation BIOS couldn't stop this particular emulator. By the way, doesn't apply to emulators for other platforms.
Yeah.
But people keep pointing to that court case, but when you actually go through the court case, it turns out that it never actually confirmed that emulation is legal. And it's kind of like a lot of things with the internet right now. We don't know because it has to like is a lot of the things we do fair use that we say is fair use. We don't know because it's never been tested in court. That's the thing. Like, it's such a gray area, and there's so much fear from both. Like, Nintendo has incentive to not go to court for this, but so do the emulators. And it is like, do you think they'll ever go to court over this? Like, if anyone does, it's Nintendo. But
no, it's just there's just too much at risk for both sides.
Yeah.
You might get some happy-go-lucky emulator person that attempts it, but oof, there's just way too much at stake for both sides. I don't see how it goes to court ever. And that's unless you can prove that they're doing something blatantly illegal. But then again, that wouldn't be a specific emulation thing. That would be a specific company thing that, they're probably just doing something illegal, not necessarily the emulation part.
No, I want to be clear. I'm not against emulation. If you emulate games, that's your choice. This is the way I've always felt about emulation. I don't really emulate games. I'm not going to say I've never done it, but it's not something I actively participate in, especially today. But, I got other things at risk. Hello, my YouTube channel.
There's that.
Nintendo don't need no legal repercussions to take on my YouTube channel thanks to YouTube's automated process. So I have massive incentive to not emulate right now and piss off Nintendo. That being said, the interesting thing with emulation is I think it's just a personal choice. If you want to go emulate games, I don't give a shit, man. Like, look, some people care a lot about whether people emulate games, especially when all these people like Tears of the Kingdom leaked a week early or 2 weeks early. And people were emulating the game, and a lot of people were all pissy about it. And I just went, what are you going to do? If people want to emulate the game, we can't stop them. And you know what? The game sold 15 million copies. Nintendo ain't hurting.
No.
Nintendo, it didn't stop Tears of the Kingdom from selling. So, it didn't even hurt sales.
Right.
No,
for sure.
Even if I'm on like I don't want this to happen because if too many people steal the game, not enough people buy the game, we're not going to get more. We're getting more. We're getting more.
I'm sure a lot of the people that were emulating the game had already bought the game.
Yeah, I think we're getting more.
Sure.
We're getting more. Like it's sold bonkers and it's continuing to sell bonkers. So I don't care if you emulate the game. Now, I might care if you rub it in my face and you start spoiling things for me. That's different.
Right.
But if you personally just want to emulate a game, why would I care?
Yes.
You do you. I'm not going to judge you for it. I'm not going to participate in it, but I have other reasons not to. Reasons that might not apply to you. If you want to emulate, go for it, man. Dude, I could have emulated Tears of the Kingdom and had walkthroughs up day one. Didn't do it. Some channels might have, but I didn't do it. The point is, emulate if you want. I'm not here to judge you. But Nintendo's going to judge you. Nintendo's going to think you're the scum of earth. Granted, a lot of people think Nintendo's the scum of earth. So, I don't know. By the way, Nintendo is not our friends.
No.
So.
No. But I do have one piece of advice for Nintendo. You want to stop emulation? Have access to your old libraries. My God.
It won't stop it.
No, it won't, but it will sure as hell cut it down.
Yeah, maintaining access has been a bugaboo for Nintendo for a while.
They're doing a decent job now kind of building up their online service, but
NSO.
It's my God. It just, I mean, you have to have the console itself in order to play your old games. And, not everybody does. So, and people want to play these games. So either A, bring them back up to the Switch or have access online to them. That'll stop. I mean, I'm not going to say it's going to stop emulation, but it'll.
Some people have noted that even if, because like consoles have this whole thing where, it's not always easy to forward compatible things and blah, blah, blah. And understand that generations are generations. Some games are just going to be stuck in a generation. But one thing Nintendo could do, and this is something I give a lot of credit to Sony for, start releasing your games on PC a year later. If it's on PC, then it's available forever. And I think that would go a long way towards combating most of emulation, because most of emulation happens on PC. Yeah. So if you just make your games and you get extra sales, and let's say you don't want to do it for a year, because unlike Sony, Nintendo's games are extremely evergreen. So I get that maybe it wouldn't be a year. 5. Let's say it's 3, 4. Let's say it's when the next system's coming out. So let's say Nintendo announces a new system. It's going to launch. Day one of its launch, sure, we have our big thing. We have Breath of the Wild launches on PC. It's an old game. You're not going to make any more money off it off Switch. Now you might make it off re-releases, but hey, maybe it's a dual release. You release it back in 4K on the new system and in 4K on PC. Same, like, have some sort of timetable you think is reasonable. And I think it's reasonable when a generation ends and you're starting the new one. Hey, all those evergreen titles, put them on PC, man. Dude, let's resell Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and sell 10 million copies on PC. What the hell? Why not? You want to charge $60 for it again? Sure. I mean, that's not ideal. We'd rather you not do that. But I mean, hey, at least you made it available. So that's just the way I am. I also want to put out one warning to our live chat who's watching the live version. No name calling of other people, even if you don't like their choices. Please refrain from name calling. We do not do that here. We do not pick on others. You can disagree with their choices without calling them names. All right. Moving on, I guess. We can get to our big topic, should we?
Yeah.
And I feel like this conversation would have been better if Darren was here or around this restart, but they're not. So maybe we revisit this in the future, because what we can talk about, though, is like how many hours you got in the game. It should tell you.
I'm not sure.
It should tell you.
How do I find that out? Let's see.
You go to home screen.
Yep. Give me just a second. Home screen.
And go up to your profile image at the top.
Profile. Yep.
And then over. Go up to all the way up to the top.
Profile.
Go over, and I'll tell you right there.
20.
That's it. More. So Eric's got at least 20 hours in the game. All right.
Yeah.
So I'm at like 80 right now.
Like I said, I'm not that far in, but
this is a conversation we'll probably revisit when we have more guests on. But is Tears of the Kingdom better than Breath of the Wild? For Eric, it's probably incomplete to even think about it right now.
Like right now, it's very samey because I haven't really ventured into the regions yet. So I'm kind of just in the middle of Hyrule.
So what we can focus on for you though, beginning of game, which is better?
Ooh,
because we can't get in the dungeons and all this other stuff.
Right.
We save that for another show. But beginning,
I almost have to give it to Breath of the Wild because of that opening shot. When you come out of that cave and all of a sudden you're just open world Hyrule, it's absolutely insane. That gave me chills back when we saw that, back in LA. But man, so I think I have to give that to Breath of the Wild.
So I agree for a different reason though. The opening shot's cool, but I mean, so is the opening shot in Tears of the Kingdom when you jump off. And plus I enjoy when it comes to pure game openings, just like that first 10 minutes. Dude, Tears of the Kingdom, man. That opening sequence is one of the best opening sequences of any Zelda game.
Breath of the Wild?
Tears of the Kingdom.
Okay.
One of the best opening sequences.
Yeah.
That story segment.
Yep.
Link is fully decked out.
Yep.
You're with Zelda. You're walking corridors, Ganondorf, things going crazy. You get wrecked. Zelda vanishes. Sword break. Like, it is such an epic opening. It is arguably one of the best openings I could argue to any game, let alone to Zelda. I love that. But again, a lot of it isn't really gameplay, right? There is some. You do get to control your character.
Yeah, you wander around
and
a
you
little bit.
Kill a couple of keys.
Yeah.
But a lot of it's not really like pure gameplay, right? But it's a really epic opening. And they needed that opening to set up why Link isn't so powerful anymore. Why his arm got wrecked, et cetera, et cetera. So I do think Tears of the Kingdom has the better opening 10 minutes. But man, once you get to that opening tutorial area, because every Zelda game has one, Breath of the Wild is just way better. That the Great Plateau is still to this day, in my opinion, the greatest tutorial area in gaming history. The way it's set up, the way it encourages you to naturally figure out everything. Just everything. Yeah, everything you need to know about Breath of the Wild happens on the Great Plateau. And then the game obviously opens up after that. That the Great Plateau is such an amazing intro to a video game. So like I have to give that to Breath of the Wild. I don't think Tears of the Kingdom is better. Tears of the Kingdom's opening area, the Great Sky Island, their Great Plateau, it's not as big. It's just not. I actually did some comparison. It's not even close. It is minuscule compared to the Great Plateau. There is arguably not as much to discover. There are a few things, but it's really not as much to discover. Some of the things that it teaches you, example, when you ascend through this thing and you get up there, and Link gets cold. Well, if you've already played Breath of the Wild, you already know. Now, for new players, maybe it still maybe it still slaps in that way. But since we already got that experience in Breath of the Wild, for me, it's like, okay, no, it's not going to hit. So the thing is, we're both people who have a lot of experience with Breath of the Wild. So when we look at the Tears of the Kingdom opening, it comes from that perspective rather than looking at it as raw as Breath of the Wild was. So there is that. There's an admitted bias because Breath of the Wild was first, and that's what we experienced first. So some of the new stuff that would be new for new players isn't new for us. And I think that because I'm a Breath of the Wild player, I probably didn't experience the Great Sky Island the way they thought a lot of new players would, which is experimenting with the new abilities. I climbed all over the place, man. I climbed all over the place. I jumped, I climbed, because that's what I did in Breath of the Wild. And it turns out those Breath of the Wild jump, climb everywhere mechanics, yeah, they still work. So yeah, it's like I didn't feel the need to like build crazy contraptions to fly up to a new spot, or heck, I actually failed at building like there's that segment where you could build it with a hook and it grinds down the rail. I actually failed and lost all my materials. Now the materials do eventually come back, but they don't come back right away. And I sat there like, oh, what am I going to do? I climbed up the pole and shield surfed, which by the way, could do in Breath of the Wild. So I'm like, it's cool that I'm grinding right now. That's great. But also like, this is a Breath of the Wild mechanic. It just didn't have the same impact. Now, is that Tears of the Kingdom's fault? I don't think so. I don't know that there's anything they could have done with that opening area to be significantly better than what it was for Breath of the Wild players, because we can't just forget all that experience. It's a direct sequel. So I don't fault Tears of the Kingdom's opening area. I just don't think it's as good as Breath of the Wild's. Now, personal opinions. This is not an objective statement. It is a
100%,
personal statement.
100%.
But as many people say, the opening of Tears of the Kingdom, or at least that opening Sky Island, is one of the weakest parts of the game. And I can actually agree with that now that I've put 80 hours in. Shout out to Bama Hut, by the way, for the gifted members. Yeah. Heck yeah, buddy. So you're down on Hyrule at this point, I assume. Or are you still messing around? Yeah, you're down on Hyrule.
I'm not in the sky anymore. No.
Yeah. So are you only just, I know you did a few Sky Towers. What regions have you unlocked?
I'll tell you in a second here. It's like kind of the middle.
Obviously, you have the first. I assume you have the first region.
Yep.
With the tower at Lookout Landing.
Yes. Yep. I have. What is it? 4 towers.
4 towers now.
Yeah, I think. So I have. No, that's a shrine. That's a shrine. Great podcast.
Lots of shrines.
Yeah.
Lots of shrines.
Lookout Landing, Skyview Tower. Sahara Slope, Skyview Tower. I only have 2.
Huh. You only have 2 towers? I only
have 2 towers. That seems weird. I thought I had more.
So what regions you got?
3. Lindor Boss, Skyview Tower. So I got kind of
here. Yeah. I can glance at the region quick because I know how the map works. Yeah. So again, Eric's early in.
Yeah.
You can see the whole names of the region. So you have Central Hyrule, you have Faron region, Hyrule Ridge with the Tabantha Frontier, which is all one region. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
I think I got like 3 or 4 towers.
Yeah. Yeah, you're good. You're good. Yeah. And you got the Lanayru Wetlands region as well with Kakariko. Okay.
Yeah.
So you've explored a little bit at least. How are we feeling about how those regions that you've been in compare to the last game? Like just in terms of stuff to do.
I don't know. At this point, I mean, I feel very kind of, again, it's very similar. I wouldn't say there's more necessarily to do. I wouldn't say there's less to do. Right now, it kind of feels like I'm in Breath of the Wild again, which is amazing. But there are some nice changes that they've made. Kind of the different gimmicks with the building stuff is huge. Haven't really built anything crazy yet. But I definitely have watched videos on some of those crazy builds. But yeah, no, I like the change in, they did add some nice stuff with the puzzles where the one guy's holding the sign and you gotta kind of help him with that.
I love those. Cool. Yulia hates them. I love them.
I do too, actually.
Dude, I have so much fun with them because yes, guys, you can make like a simple solution that will work for a bunch of them, but it doesn't work for them all. And I have built some super complicated, stupid, just the stupidest contraptions ever to hold up one of those stupid signs. My God. And why?
Yeah.
I still don't know what's the deal with this dude. Why does he love Hudson so much?
I don't know.
I don't even know if he works for the damn guy. I don't know what's going on. Whoa, President Hudson. Okay, cool. I met Hudson. Yeah. He's a neat guy. Thanks for the house, buddy. Also, what is this guy doing putting up signs in the middle of nowhere?
Right.
Like some of them aren't even on the road. What are we
Right.
What are we doing?
Right. Some of them are just up on a random rock. I'm like, why? Why are you here?
We need Hudson. We need Hudson signs every 10 feet in the game.
Yes. No, so I like those. Those are interesting. I may get sick of them as more and more come, but so far I haven't. I am sick of the escort Korok missions.
You're sick of them?
I'm sick of them already. I did 3. I've done a few of them, and I was done after 3. I'm like, this is
so you're gonna start doing what other people do. They've been creating Korok torture devices.
Yep, I like the slingshot ones. Those are fun to just. Maybe I should just find and build those slingshot ones so I can just launch it in the direction and call it good. But yeah, no, I'm getting sick of those.
Dude, I punt them all the time now.
Yeah,
Yulia used to get mad at me when she'd watch me play. She'd be like, "Yeah, he wants his friend. You can't be mean to him." Then she did like 6 of them, and she's like, "Oh yeah, dude, I just rock it and punch him."
Yeah, right.
Just get this over with. Get out of here. I just want the Korok seeds to expand my inventory. You just, I want to help my friend. I need to get to my friend. I can put some rockets on there, buddy, and
right. No, very
get out of here.
Nope, I would agree on that one. The Koroks are Jesus. Yeah.
So Korok seeds, how we feeling?
Why?
They weren't great in Breath of the Wild.
Why?
I mean, I don't know anyone that I shouldn't say that. I do know a couple people that legitimately loved Korok seed quest and Breath of the Wild, but it seems to be a minority.
Puzzles were fun, but it got very samey. It got, oh look, I dropped this rock in a circle. Done. I jumped off this bridge into a circle.
But see now I encountered one where I had to put 2 rocks to get a Korok seed instead of 1.
Yes. Now, and from what I've actually read online too, some of these puzzles are actually undoing Korok puzzles from Breath of the Wild. Yeah. So that's kind of that. I will give Nintendo that one. That is funny.
Yeah, it's a little funny. But also some of them are the exact same puzzle in the exact same location.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like there's like, complete this rock circle here. Wait a second. I remember doing this.
Yeah.
I look up, I go on Breath of the Wild, goes, it's the exact same Korok. Like, come on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and then they added some.
Yeah, there's more Koroks in this game than the first game.
Yeah. Why?
More Korok seeds, I guess I should say.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. It's
so that part Koroks, it just they're nice to stumble across and if I'm randomly picking up rocks, hey look, a Korok. Or I'm randomly, oh, hey, look, there's a pinwheel. Let's go shoot the balloons and I'm gone. Something that takes, either 2 seconds or, is a nice puzzle. Those ones I like. The other ones, the friends, I'm over with. I'm over it. But I've heard there are like 45 of them, and it's like, oh God, why? Why?
Well, I mean, because there's 1,000 Korok seeds, so you need need that extra 100.
Yeah,
and it's 2 seeds per one of those quests, right?
Yeah.
That's why I said, not necessarily more Koroks, but anyways.
Right.
Well, here's like my thought on the Korok stuff is, I think they are probably better in some cases in Tears of the Kingdom. Like out of all the Korok things I've done, I do think that it is better. I still don't find it enjoyable. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the problem with me and the Korok seeds. And I know a lot of people go, you could just not get them. Mm-hmm. And I understand that. The problem is they tied inventory expansion to it. And in a game with breakable weapons, in a game with weapon fusion, in a game where you're fighting Gleox and crazy Lionels, and you just sort of feel like, while you don't need it, you want the extra inventory.
Right.
So because of that, it kind of makes them somewhat essential. And I talked about this before the game came out, especially when I started getting heavy hints that Korok seeds were coming back from the one trailer that looked like a Korok seed quest. I sat there and I thought about this, and I think I still think they could have did something with the Koroks that would have made sense. It could have been for inventory expansion. It's pretty simple. Have Korok quests, not seed quests, but quests, where you're doing something for the Koroks and have them spread throughout the world. You have to find them, sort of like I need to get to my friend. But every single one of those quests is unique, completely different. There's not any 2 that are the same. So it's not, we made it harder to get to your friend for this particular one. No, it's still the same basic concept. You're just getting to your friend. No. Have a completely unique Korok quest, Korok related quest, whether it's getting to a friend, whether it's trying to get a certain amount of things for that Korok for the Great Deku Tree, or whether it is, I don't even know, you have to unite lost lovers or something. And instead of it being finding a friend, there's actually a multi-part quest to solving that one. There's actually something similar to that in Sonic Frontiers, by the way. Shout out to them for how they dealt with some of the quests for a similar mechanic. And I think what they should have done then is instead of rewarding you with seeds, the reward for each one of those Korok quests is an inventory expansion.
Right.
You just get an inventory. So there's less of them, but they're much more interesting, much more ingrained, have much more story behind them.
100%.
And you just get an inventory expansion for completing it. So now you know Koroks are inventory expansion. So I don't want to ignore them, but also it's not a seed quest. It's not some stupid pick up a rock and hope or dive into a hole and hope. Like that's what I would have done. And I think that could have been an entire like extra thing in your quest log. Even you could have had like, because you have your main quest, you have your side quest, you have your adventure quest, you could have had your Korok quest.
Yeah.
And that would have been inventory quest. And that would have been really, really cool.
No,
but
I agree.
They didn't do that. So
yeah. No, and don't get me wrong, I loved the friend quest the first like 2 times I did it. I thought it was great. I'm like, cool, they did something new. And then they hit me again and again and again. I'm like, damn it. They're gonna hit me with this dead horse again, aren't they?
But you could have a Hetsu dance. Someone's like, what about the Hetsu dance? Yeah, have a quest that involves Hetsu. Maybe he gives you 2 inventory slots.
Yeah.
Or maybe he gives you 1 of each for doing his, because he might have the most complicated quest.
Or it gives
and you're rewarded with an entire 1-minute dance routine.
Yeah.
That would have been sick.
Yeah.
Maybe he's the final Korok quest that unlocks at the end after you do all the others. And then all the Koroks get together and do a big number.
Ooh.
That would have been cool.
Ooh. There you go. There you go.
But I mean, that's not what the game did. So
no.
So I do think the Korok quests are better than Breath of the Wilds, but I mean, look, polishing a turd is still a turd overall. It's really not it's better, but it's not still I wouldn't say enjoyable. Maybe like the first escort quest, maybe the second, but like it's really not enjoyable. It's just too repetitive. And that was a problem with Breath of the Wild. It's still a problem in this game. Other aspects, you mentioned that you're not really seeing much more to do so far.
Yeah.
Or feeling like there's more to do.
Maybe I'm just not paying attention to other things I can do right now. I'm kind of just hitting stories, side quests, things like that.
Yeah.
I do.
So for me personally, there's way more to do in this game and in Tears of the Kingdom than Breath of the Wild. Like just way more everywhere. So much going on. One example, I don't know if you noticed, we have multiple main quests, and that wasn't the case in Breath of the Wild.
Nope.
Like you had 2. Defeat Ganon, and then the line that led you to Impa that led you to the Divine Beast, which ultimately just leads all back to defeat Ganon.
Right.
But there's like 5, 6 main quests going on at any one time. It's sick. It's awesome. Obviously, side adventure is separated from side quests. They clearly added a lot more. Now, I want to be clear, Eric hasn't really gone to the underworld yet.
Yep, I've dabbled in it a little bit.
Dabbled in it for like the camera thing or whatever, but
yeah,
that little beginning quest you guys can do for it. But he hasn't really explored the depths or done anything crazy down there. So he doesn't have that to add into his opinion. Now, I think I've made this pretty clear when I made a tweet on this last week, and I said, I don't care who wants to yell at me. Tears of the Kingdom is better than Breath of the Wild, and I'm not going to say this is recency bias. I haven't even beat the game. Sometimes when you just know, you know. And I love Breath of the Wild. It was my favorite game of all time. It's not my second favorite game of all time. But being 80 hours in, my biggest takeaway when I compare these 2 games is Breath of the Wild feels like it was a tech demo for this game. Like that this was a beta or an alpha they had 3 years ago. And Tears of the Kingdom is the end result. Now, I've experienced a lot more. I have done a lot more than you have. So I know certain things that I don't want to get into and spoil you on stuff, but
I mean, I've heard some things.
I mean, the story's so much better.
Right.
I mean, this isn't even, I don't even know that you could say this
the cutscenes that I've seen are just absolutely phenomenal for story-wise. But
I will say there are, but guys, it doesn't mean that Breath of the Wild doesn't have its moments. I have yet to experience anything that gave me the feeling of Eventide Island the first time. There hasn't been anything like that yet. Now, there are some shrines that try to repeat a little bit of it, but they're repetitive and there's multiple of them. and it doesn't give the same impact. It's really neat the first time, but then like, you know, when you've done 4 or 5 of
I
them,
guess
it's kind
I
of like
haven't really run into enough shrines then apparently, because I thought
there's 152 of them.
I
So.
thought they're better than Breath of the Wild.
Okay.
Just-
well, what's better about the shrines?
Right now, I don't think I've run across a samey one yet.
Okay.
So that's kind of why I think they're great, because Breath of the Wild, one of the biggest complaints. I mean, the
combat shrines.
The combat shrines
Ugh.
are, oh god,
Those got old
Yeah.
so fast.
You know, some of the shrines were great, but you know, they were repetitive. There were sometimes 4, 5, 6 of them. You know, and I haven't run into that yet. And I mean, maybe I will, maybe I won't. I don't know. From the way it's sounding, I will. But
so the only thing I'll say this,
I don't care if you spoil some shrines. Like, oh darn.
So here's the thing about the shrines. I agree that they're better in this game. When I say so there's a type of shrine you might not run into yet. That's like Eventide Island. It takes all your gear away.
I think I've ran into one.
Yeah, so it takes all your gear away, then it gives you a couple items, and you use Ultra Hand. You can do robot things, whatever.
I think I've run into one.
So basically, it's just clear all the constructs out. And I want to say, none of them are the same. The way you tackle it is different every time. So that's why I said, even with some of these repetitive style of shrines, this isn't like the combat shrines in Breath of the Wild that were literally the same 3 levels of combat shrine every time. The exact same on repeat. That's what Breath of the Wild did for a bunch of shrines. These shrines are actually, even though this is a repetitive mechanic, completely unique in the scenario that they present to try to solve and tackle defeating all the constructs. So I will give the game that these are a lot different, a lot more varied in that way. And so these shrines are way better than the combat shrines, but they're clearly like the replacement for the combat shrines. And who knows, there was probably a small team that had to come up with X number of them. And I don't know how many there are, but I've ran into several, and they're neat, but they're, you know, still sort of like almost like a randomizer. Like we have an idea and we're just going to have it randomized every time, but it's still the same idea.
I'd rather have that though.
Well, yeah, I'd rather have that what's in Breath of the Wild. Yeah, absolutely. It's way better than the combat shrines. So that's why I said, like, the shrines are better. The only real criticism I've seen beyond that for the shrines and Tears of the Kingdom is that almost all of them, not all, but almost all of them rely on a single ability. Ultra Hand.
Yep.
Now, Ultra Hand is an epically amazing, one of a kind.
I don't really know how you would
gonna miss this ability when a Zelda game comes out without it, because they're not gonna keep it. But
I mean, there's only really 2 of the powers that you can really build shrines around. Because I mean, fusing stuff to a weapon, I mean, how can you really do a whole lot of that within a shrine itself and build a shrine around that? I'm sure there's ways, but
you need hammers to break rocks.
Yeah,
you know, fusing. Maybe you don't get arrows, so you have to freeze some stuff, and so you don't get items to throw. So then you got to fuse a Lizalfo's tail to something to freeze. There's things that could have come up with, but I haven't ran across them at trying it.
I mean, the Ultra Hand is the most flexible.
Well, I mean, it's infinitely flexible,
right?
You make taking on a Gliok a joke if you have the right parts.
Yeah.
I haven't done it yet. It's funny. I watch all these guides, like, how to take out a flame Gliok, and I'm watching them, and I'm like, that's cool. You could also just build a giant laser mech and take it out in 2 seconds.
I mean, yeah.
I'm just
I'm
just kind of throwing it out there that, like, you know, I mean,
some of those laser chambers that I've seen.
Ultra Hand's pretty OP.
Yeah.
Once you get some of the, I don't want to even call them late game, because it's all about how you explore. But once you get like the cannons and the lasers, and then you get like the thing that lets them turn. So Eric's seen some of the crazy things that have been built out there. Well, what makes a lot of it work is there's this one item you get that does nothing but homing turn. It doesn't attack, but clearly it's meant to attach the attacking stuff too. It's insane.
Yeah, I've run into one Gliok so far. They kicked my ass twice.
Yep. Which one?
And I'm like,
which one?
Lightning.
Lightning. I haven't faced the lightning one yet. Nice.
They kicked my ass twice. So it was. I'm like, cool. I'm gonna avoid this for a little bit. Then I'm like, okay, let's go for it. And it went, whack, you're dead. Oh, okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
I will say things hit harder in this game.
Yeah.
By far.
I think it's a more difficult game overall.
Yeah.
Personally.
For sure.
I see some people that, or you just fight a Gleeok normally because they're stupid easy to fight. They are once you figure it out. But until you figure it out, it's like anything. The Lionel, the silver Lionel, the infamous silver Lionel, was stupidly difficult until you figured it out. And then it kind of became a joke every time. Same things with the Gleeoks. It's not that they can't be mastered and simplified, but usually the initial encounter is like, oh shit, it kicked my ass. And it did it again. And it just keeps taking a while. And then there's an extra phases to the Gleeok. And like the first time you experience those, like, what the hell is going on? You fight an ice Gleeok and you get hit by a damn icicle, and you're like, why am I getting hit by an icicle? What just happened?
Where did that come from?
So, like, yes, it's easy when we're talking so many of us that are 80, 100, 150, 200 hours in. I think you might have forgot what it was like the first time you ran into a Gleeok and it kicked your ass. Like, I don't know anyone who ran into a Gleeok the first time and didn't die or come very close to dying, and only just one because of contrition, because they didn't see one until they had 30 hearts or something crazy.
Yeah.
Running out of arrows mid-fight. Dude, arrows, man. Every time I think I have a lot, like 300, 400 arrows, I don't know what happens, but 2 hours later, it feels like I have none, and I'm down to like 6. Maybe I'm just overusing arrows. I don't know, but holy crud, I am always running out of arrows, like all the time. It is insane. Now maybe it's just because of the underground where you're shooting like the light stuff.
Yeah.
But even then, like, you can attach one to a vehicle. It's just, oh man, I don't know what it is, but I'm always running out of arrows. Maybe it's because the fuse mechanic is so fun with arrows that you're using them maybe a bit more often, or maybe you would have been like, oh, I'd sneak up and do a sneak strike or this and that. And you're like, no. I'm slow motion arrow. I'm throwing some muddle buds in there. I'm doing some other stuff. I'm popping a puff shroom with one. And
yeah,
like,
for sure.
So like, a lot of it could just be like, it's just so fun to use them in this game because of all of that maybe people are just using arrows more than they used to. But man, yeah, I know you could throw the seeds, but here's the thing. I don't run to the edge of the dark and then throw a seed.
No.
If I'm in the light, I'm like, it's so much faster than throwing seeds. Like, I know you can throw them, but it is so much faster to just spin and shoot in the underworld. It's so much faster.
Yeah.
It's so much faster.
No, for sure. I will give Breath of the Wild's arrows, like the effect arrows, more credit than this one. It sucks that you have to fuse an arrow every time you want to use the fuse arrow.
That's a common complaint, is that they didn't make an auto fuse feature that we would have to opt out of. Like, they automatically select your previously fused one, but you still have to do it like normal. That is a common complaint, that people miss the elemental arrows just because you didn't have to fuse it every time. And by the way, in the DLC, it could be addressed where they just make it auto fuse unless you cancel into a different fuse, which is totally fine. There's super easy to do that. So why they didn't do that is beyond me. They should just, like, if I'm firing fire arrows using like the fire plant thing, it should just automatically select that every time until I tell it not to. But
or 5 minutes has passed, because all of a sudden you're running around, you forgot.
Well, I mean, like when you're rapid shooting.
Yeah, right. No, for sure. Yeah.
When it's within like the 30 seconds or whatever, that like you're clearly using fire arrows this whole fight.
Right. Yes. No, 100%. Yeah. Because I don't want to all of a sudden be 10 minutes later and I haven't fired my arrows in a while, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh crap, I have a bomb arrow and I forgot I was like 3 feet from a cliff, and I went, oh crap, I just blew myself up.
So Baron Verby says, well, it's your choice to give up more arrows for that convenience. It's not just a convenience, it's also smart. Because if you think about how those light things work in the underground, if you run to the edge of the darkness and then throw one, you're actually overlapping with the one you have, and you're not taking full advantage of the thing you threw. So when you're throwing those bright blooms, I've actually at one point ran out of bright blooms under there. Happened to me only one time. And like, so it's just one of those things where, yeah, you might think it's more fun to do it the way you're doing, but also you're not actually doing it in the most efficient way. So maybe for you that creates an air of fun. For me, I have gotten in the underground and gotten completely frustrated at one point. Now it had to do with a certain quest I was doing, less to do with the underground itself, but a quest I was doing that was infinitely just really frustrating in the underground because it didn't really, my brain couldn't wrap my mind around the better way to do it because nothing else in the game really worked that way. Now a few other things have worked that way since I've done that quest, but it might have just been a Breath of the Wild mindset. I'm not sure, but I got really frustrated. Now in hindsight, I now know my brain just wasn't thinking about it in the correct way, and I would have been a lot less frustrated. But it's whatever. But I mean, in my mind, this game is so much better than Breath of the Wild. It's not even really a competition for me. Yeah, you'll never be able to replace the impact and the awe factor of the first big 3D open world Zelda game of all time. And the 30 million in sales, the Switch launch, the hype. It's really hard to replicate that. But just from a game perspective, I fail to see, while there are certain things I like in Breath of the Wild more, of course there is. It's my second favorite game of all time. There's things I like in my third favorite game of all time, Secret of Mana, better than both of these games. Hello Magic. Hello Parties. Hello, there's so many things I like better in Secret of Mana than these two games. But there's a lot of things I like in these two games better than Secret of Mana. So it's an interesting thing to think about. Like, yeah, there's always going to be aspects of Breath of the Wild I like more. But Tears of the Kingdom just does so much better. And I don't know if it's the combination of the sky, the ground, I think they've changed a ton on the ground. But also I'm getting knee deep in every side quest, every side adventure. Like, you went to Kakariko. Did you do all the quests in Kakariko before you left?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so.
Did you find all the stone slabs?
Yeah.
Okay.
All the rings.
That one pissed me off.
Oh God.
The one for the top ring.
Oh.
Not even being at the top ring.
Yeah.
That pissed me off.
Yeah. The floating ring?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm just pissed off about it.
That floating ring is
I'm just
stupidly annoying.
If
I didn't land on the damn thing, don't pull me down.
Airspace.
Well,
I just view it as airspace.
Didn't you say you were in space jumping off an island?
No, it was the transition. So
Yeah.
it was transitioning from the music was transitioning from the sky to the ground, but because I transitioned into being above, granted, probably still 3 miles above that stupid floating ring. Hey, get down here! Well, I guess it's the quick way down.
Way to get to the ground.
It wasn't where I was planning to go, but all right, whatever.
Yeah. That part pissed me off a little bit. They could have put a ceiling on that, or
well, I mean, it's just very high,
or make it so if you actually just land on it, then you get pulled back.
Yeah. You know what's funny? The first time that they did it to me, because they say, "Oh, don't go up there." Zelda said, "No," so of course I'm going to try to go up there.
No, for sure.
I almost landed on the platform on the floating ring before he got mad at me. I was like, so the closer I am to you, I'm like, can I trick you to not even know I'm here?
Yeah, right. Wait, what?
Am I discovering a glitch?
Yeah, right.
So if I come at you from far away, oh no, but if I climb up right on this edge of probably where you get mad, and I go over here and it looks like I'm not going towards it, and then I'm like, I'm gonna jump here and just land. I swear I almost made it.
Dang.
But anyways, Bama with another 5 gifted. Right? That's the second 5. Nice, man. Thank you so much. So the hard part about having this conversation and not having our usual team here is obviously, I know Andres Restart beat the game last night, beat the main story. It's hard to say beat the game because he even said as soon as he beat the game, he just kept playing because there was so much he hasn't done. So even when you say you beat the game, you really just mean I saw the credits because I beat the main story. I haven't beat the main story yet, so I can't even go into the full breadth of the story, but everything I've experienced in the story so far is so much better than everything in Breath of the Wild. I can already tell you right now it's a better story than Breath of the Wild's. Just much more engaging, much more going on. And there's story told through quests and story told through memories. Again, I know some people don't like the memory thing, but then the memories aren't yours. That's what I like about it. That's the big difference. I'm getting my memories, but no. You're actually finding it's so hard to talk about without spoiling anything.
For sure.
Because there's like I've done all the Dragon Tears, and like the end of the Dragon Tears is such like an epic moment. I'm not going to ruin that.
Are you talking about the tiers that are in the glyphs?
Yes.
Yeah, I've gotten a few of those.
Yes.
Yes. So to answer your question from earlier, yes, I know what the Dragon Tears are. Yes, I have a few.
Yes. Did you do the
Those
first one
awesome.
like you were supposed to with Impa, or did you just find another one first?
I did the
Impa
first
sort of
one,
like tells you which one to go to next, but then like when you're exploring, you just kind of
I wish they would actually mark them on your freaking map. I know there's a map there, and take a picture of it.
Did you take a picture?
No, I didn't take a picture. Why would I take a picture?
I'm just saying it was a complaint of mine, but also the game did actually put you in a position and basically told you to take a picture. It pretty much it showed the map of the glyphs, the order of the glyphs is there, and basically tells you to take a damn picture.
I know, but
I have an excuse. I hadn't unlocked the camera yet, so I couldn't take a picture.
Yeah, fair enough.
So and this is what happens with the open world game. Do anything you want. Didn't even know there was a quest to get the camera. Had no idea. Literally, as soon as I got the paraglider, I just started exploring. Didn't even realize, go to the underworld. No clue, man. I already explored a bunch of the underworld before I even got a quest to do the underworld. What are we talking about? So I had no idea. Thanks, Robbie. And Yulia's mad at Robbie right now, too. She wants Robbie to go somewhere else so she can unlock another ability.
Yep.
But Robbie won't leave, and she can't figure out why. And I'm like, well, you haven't completed this thing for Per. I can already tell. Like, you haven't done this thing, not for Per, but for this Josie or whatever her name is. I'm like, you haven't completed this thing for her. I can tell because I have it complete and you don't. And she sat there and she said, well. And then I'm like, what was the quest for that? I looked through her quest log and I'm like, I watched she talks to her. I looked through her quest. I'm like, I don't think you have the quest. Oh shit. Is this?
I think I might be in that same situation.
Is this bugged out? Like I haven't seen that many bugs in the game, but maybe it didn't happen to me. But also, I did that like before the last couple of updates. So we have a $5 super chat in here from Samuel A. Thank you so much. It says, how do you suspect Tears of the Kingdom DLC will be handled? Maybe large in scale, late 2024, separate map, Termina. Eric, what do you think?
I don't know. I don't even know where they
like. It's hard to talk about DLC. Story for DLC because we haven't completed the story.
Right. I don't even know where you would go with DLC. I mean, adding more Sky Islands.
What did they do last time? They didn't really add more. They added the Master Cycle, where they took an area of the map, took it over, put some more new shrines, and did that unbreakable or the one-hit weapon thing. But you also get one-shotted. Mm-hmm. And that was neat. And then that led to a longer quest going to back to the Divine Beast and solving a thing out there to then relive the memories of the champions and relive their fight, yada, yada, yada. So that was neat. But we don't really have that this time around. Like DLC wise, like, do we go back in time and get to be Zelda? Mm-hmm. I'm just saying people would buy the piss out of that DLC if we could be Zelda and go back with Rauru and Sonya. Like, dude.
I mean, or you just you play the game from her position. Like, you get sucked, you fall down into the hole at the beginning.
Just add a whole new game.
Yeah.
Play everything Zelda related.
You follow the story of Zelda on her side.
Dude,
why not?
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
They have Joycey Jade reminded everyone that Cass has to come back. Yeah, I haven't seen Cass. I've seen some references to Cass. I haven't seen him in the game. It would be neat if he came back during a DLC, that he was saved for DLC, maybe specifically. Maybe he's off adventuring somewhere else and comes back. And maybe him coming back brings a whole new land or a whole new Sky Island, a whole new something.
A whole new world. Wait.
Like, they can have more Sky Islands in DLC. That can be done. There's still a lot of room up there for more Sky Islands. I'm actually surprised there isn't more Sky Islands than there is. Mm-hmm. That's one thing that maybe, if I say I'm a little disappointed, is that there wasn't more Sky Islands. Then again, there's so much in this game. Like, is it a complaint there's not more? That's just, okay, more DLC, baby. Let's go. There's a side quest with Beetle. That's awesome. I know you probably haven't done it yet.
No.
But the
No.
fact that they took our traveling merchant and created a side quest with him is awesome. And I'm sorry, there was someone on Twitter that tried to say Alana Pierce, the Alana Pierce thing. She dressed up as Beetle.
Oh yeah.
And she's like, "Oh well, why would you do a cosplay of this obscure character instead of like Purah or blah blah?" And then the person later says, "I haven't even played the game, but I've seen all the cutscenes." It's like, okay, so you're living vicariously through YouTube cutscenes and probably a bunch of TikToks based on his Twitter account. I sat there, I'm like, Beetle is not obscure. Oh my gosh. No. Beetle, dude, ask just say Beetle to any Zelda fan and they know who you're talking about. That means he's not obscure. No. We all know who Beetle is. He's been vitally important in several games. And yeah, now he's even more important to Tears of the Kingdom because he has a quest connected to him.
Nice.
Like, oh man.
I got it. DLC brings in Skyloft. And Loft Wings. Ooh. I don't know how they would do it or what they would do with it, but maybe the Sky Islands form back together and create Skyloft.
Oh, that would be nice.
I don't know.
That would be nice. As for like when they would bring out DLC, I think the reason we don't know about it isn't because there won't be some. The game's too big. They're going to have DLC. I think they probably even started working on the DLC last year, even because they spent that year polishing. That probably wasn't the entire team. So I do think that there will be DLC. I think they're waiting on the new system. I think I think they think if they could use DLC to help push a new system combined with a new Mario game or something, they want to kind of double whammy that momentum over as much as they can. Now, that doesn't mean you won't get the DLC here on Switch, but I think included in that DLC is going to be the included upgrade pack for automatic upgrade pack for the new system. There'll be enough content without that, but otherwise you'd have to pay like an extra fee to probably upgrade or something if you want like the 4K texture pack or something.
That would do it.
And then Charles Trudell put the Robbie cannot move out before the first dungeon.
That would do it.
Yulia's got 2 dungeons down. So
I was going to say that won't do
it. That's not.
Yeah.
There's a quest chain in the depths you need to complete before Robbie will leave. That's what gets Robbie to leave.
I figured.
Unfortunately, Yulia doesn't have the quest, and the person that gives you the quest isn't given it. I don't know what's going on. I literally don't. I don't know what happened. I don't know if it bugged out. I don't know. I literally don't know. I went through all the requests. I'm like, where is this thing? I even looked it up online. I'm like, oh yeah. This is the doesn't have it. I was like, here's the people. Here's where it starts. Here's where it goes. Did you abandon it? Like, no. It's just I don't know what's going on.
Because I think
she wants the shrine sensor. Right. She wants, which I get. She wants, but you have to complete this to get Robbie to move so you can get the shrine sensor. And so, like,
no, I think, I may be in that same thing too because I turned in the picture, and then it just she just says she'll let me know if there's more information, and that's it. I keep talking to her, and that's it. So.
Yeah. Some people are saying that the latest patch might have fixed it.
Yeah.
That's possible.
That's fine. That's very well possible too. Yep.
You guys all know, I've said this very openly. Yulia is duplicating like a whore.
Yeah.
Just, like
done. Once.
She can't. She just loves it. Literally, it's like her. I think she spends more time duplicating than doing anything else in the game. I swear.
Nice.
I swear. So like getting her to update her game and giving up the easy duplication glitch. I know there's more, but they're not nearly as useful as the old ones. Getting her to update is going to be very difficult.
Yeah, unless there's another duplication glitch that's
going to be very difficult.
And then
there are other duplication glitches. Well, they're just not as good.
No,
they're not as easy, as convenient.
Yes. Right. No, for sure. If there's another one that's semi-easy and convenient that duplicates same one, she'll update to that, and then once that patch is,
So Varen Burby mentions like getting more than 10K is useless. So I'm going to tell you something right now. This is just I've watched Yulia play the game, right? She at one point had like 150 something thousand rupees. She somehow got down to only 4,000 left. I don't want to sit here and tell you you don't need more than 10,000 rupees. There are so many things in this game that you could spend rupees on and
I suppose, yeah.
lose out on rupees pretty quick.
I mean, you can buy a whole boatload of arrows.
Yeah. I know she has to get auto build. I'm well aware of what the quest is because I did it. But here's the thing: I did it without having to have that latest patch because it happened a long time ago. But again, it's a known bug. So, recall is very handy too. Some people said, yeah. So like, there's just a lot of that. 10,000 Noodles says that there's new dupes that just as easy if she can't live without it. They're not as easy. I did so all the new duplication methods for patch 1.1.2, even the one that helps you rapid dupe without having to reset the game, okay, still involves extra steps where you have to take the things and you have to unfuse them. And unfortunately, that is not as easy as paraglider grab items YB, paraglider grab items YB, paraglider grab items YB, paraglider grab items YB, paraglider grab items YB.
And
there's extra steps. Oh, and then you have to have timing with the electrocution thing. This, like, it's just press the button at the same time. It's like everyone can do it. My daughter did it. Like, it's stupidly easy. Now you might go, well, this is easy, but there's extra steps. There's nothing so far as convenient as the OG duplication glitches. There just isn't. That's just the reality. Now, I don't care that much about the duplication glitches personally, but I also sometimes look at her rupees and look at mine with my 700.
Yeah.
And I cry a little when I can't buy anything that I need. I never have diamonds for like the quests you get to rebuild the OG weapons from the champions. Never have the diamonds for those. I'm not gonna lie, it's a little sad. I think one point about this game that I think favors duplication glitches and why I think people like them so much. One thing is, once you've explored the game or explored major sections of the game, it's obviously not quite as fun to explore the same section again. So when you're going to say, I need to get a bunch of bomb flowers, I need to get a bunch of muddle buds, if you're just doing the same thing over and over to farm them, it gets old. That's why it's called farming. It's tedious. So for a lot of people, it's not that the duplication glitch is about gathering rupees, although people clearly do that. It's just about saving some of the tedium that exists in gaming that nobody really enjoys that much. People don't like farming for materials. It's generally not considered a fun thing to do. People that are dedicated to it, especially in multiplayer games, obviously get to reap the benefits of selling on auction houses and yada, yada, yada. But it is very tedious, and there's a reason that bots are often made to take care of it in many games, because it's just not fun. It's not a fun aspect of games. But it's hard to come up with a better way to handle getting materials, because if you don't have it that way, it becomes too easy and then materials become pointless. Now, duplication can make materials pointless, but then you're actively using these materials all the time.
Right.
So like my whole thing has always been, I don't care if people with duplication glitch. It's fine. My fiance does it. If I cared, then I all of a sudden I gotta be mad at her all the time, and that's stupid.
No,
but also I get why they do it. I get why she does it.
Yeah.
Because farming for mats just isn't fun. That being said, some people probably do like it. I've been playing RPG video games for 25 plus years, and let me tell you, I have farmed more materials than I care to admit to.
Oh no, 100%.
To the point that farming materials isn't really that fun. Running around grabbing things, breaking rocks all the time, doing repetitive stuff over and over isn't always fun. But some people probably like it.
Oh, I'm sure.
I don't know.
Now, what would be actually kind of fun is at your house you have a true farm where you plant one thing and it just auto duplicates across your farm.
And some games do that.
Yeah, and
you can build like factories that will farm certain materials.
Right.
In some games.
Right. So you, like
that would have been cool if they would have let that.
Like if you want mushrooms or bright blooms, you can plant one and it would just grow in your field, and then you can come back within, let's say, 3 minutes and you can pick up your whole field. and you can then plant your next thing, and then again 3 minutes come back through. So it gives you something that you can plant, go do something, come back, and all of a sudden you have a nice spot of things you don't have to actively farm. You can passively farm.
Yeah.
Actually farm.
Anyways, the point is that I think in general the game's better. It's hard to have a deeper conversation because I don't want to spoil anything for Eric. But Eric, like, what are your thoughts? To this point, do you think they're like the same? Breath of the Wild's better, Tears of the Kingdom better?
No, I like Tears of the Kingdom better.
Why?
The shrines are better. It's just the powers themselves are better.
What's your favorite shrine you've done so far?
The one that used the rail carts, that one was fun. I don't know which one it is, but the name of it. But I know there was one that you kind of, built your own kind of. You had to, build your own kind of cart that went along the rails, and then all of a sudden you made a big giant loop back around, and yeah. So that one was fun. So, it was trying to figure out how to keep your. It wasn't actually necessarily a cart itself, but they gave you a whole bunch of flat platforms that you could then build something to, go on these rails. So to try to figure out how, because all of a sudden you're making a corner. Well, if your thing slides to one side, you're gone. So it's kind of like, well, obviously just put a middle fin in, but it was still fun to try to, figure that out, make sure that you still didn't have, enough space in there where it could, slide to one side, and all of a sudden you're not lining up in the transfer of the track type of thing. So it just, and then I just did the one where it was building bridges. That one was kind of cool. Yeah, no, I just, they are, I mean, don't get me wrong, Breath of the Wild had some very, very nice dungeon or shrines, but I haven't run into anything that's been duplicate so far. So that's so far.
I've got a lot more shrines down. I have not ran into any shrine that's literally exactly the same.
Yes. So
just those similar concept ones where they take away all your gear,
right?
But it's still not exactly the same.
Mm-hmm. I think as much as I did like the other powers, I think the powers that you have in Tears of the Kingdom are a little bit more. God, what's the word I'm looking for? A little bit more free to use and
they're insane.
Yeah, I mean, you can do so much more with them. They're kind of a plus on the other,
like Ultra Hand's Magnesis, but then it's also so much
more powerful. Yeah.
And then Recall, man.
Recall, I wish there was a option of either Recall or Stasis where you can either freeze it or send it back. That one I could see where, and I'm guessing it maybe, no.
No, there's no way to use it like Stasis.
That part I could see where that one would be useful. But
it's still not really like Stasis the way I was thinking of it.
Okay.
I saw the puzzle similar to it the way I would have solved it with Stasis, but it's still basically I had to drop a ball into a certain spot. It was a giant Jenga tower. Okay. But the point is you're going to knock the tower down. That's not the point. You got to get the ball from the Jenga tower into a hole.
Okay.
And if it falls, it's going to go down an endless pit.
Okay.
So how I solved it was basically trying to get the Jenga pieces to tilt the tower in a way that would make the ball fall closer to me. And then I'd walk to the edge and I'd hit Recall to bring the ball back up. And then I brought it back up to a certain point. And, like on Stasis, you might stop something from moving and then let go of it so it falls straight down. I let go of it. And instead of it continuing the arc it was on with the momentum it had originally, it actually fell straight down, which I quickly caught it with Ultra Hand to go then put it in the hole. And I said that I'm like, that I would have did something similar with Stasis like that. I would have tried to stop it mid-fall to change its trajectory so then I could grab it. And I kind of did that, except I brought the ball back up and then I manually stopped it before it got back to the top where I thought it'd be an easy spot for me to grab it. And then it just fell straight down. That it's very similar to how I would have used Stasis. So there is some things you can do with like that, but obviously the general point of stasis was you could stop something, hit it in a direction, and change its momentum, have it go nuts. And people abuse the hell out of stasis. People are abusing the hell out of these abilities as well. But I think recall is actually an unsung ability in the game.
Oh no, for sure.
Because it's significantly more useful, I think, than a lot of the players realize, because you need to play around with it more.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you even saw, hey, Ultra Hand plus recall equals stick breaks high knocks. You saw that one first hand with the flying adult part in the air that took out the high knocks.
Yes.
That was a combination of Ultra Hand and recall that made that work.
Was.
And recall's just got so many amazing uses that I just don't think. I always knew Ultra Hand was going to be like a favorite, and Fuse was going to be a favorite. Those are the two most obvious favorite abilities. But recall is so amazing. People just, I don't think, have hit that point that they're experimenting enough with it, because you can do so much of the game without it.
Yeah, no, there's that. I always forget I sometimes forget that I have Ascend. Not gonna lie. All of a sudden, I'll be like, oh no, sorry.
Do you remember when you're in caves at least?
Not so much anymore. I forgot once.
You forgot once in the cave?
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
no.
No, I was down in the middle of I was down in the middle of a well.
Because there's some super long ones too that are.
I was down in the middle of a well, the bottom of the well, and I'm like, how in the hell am I gonna get back up? It's wet. I can't climb. What in the hell am I doing here? Teleport, whatever. It was the end of the well anyways, so it's not like I didn't care.
You teleported?
I know I teleported.
I'm surprised you didn't attach do you have rockets yet? Attach to your shield. No. You could have tried to rocket boost it out, I suppose.
But all of a sudden I was like, I don't know what the hell made me think of it the next day. I was like,
that's why they put it. They said it in the dev interview. Backtracking sucks, so we kept doing it in dev, and we said, why don't we make it an ability?
Yeah,
Ascend is awesome.
Yeah, no, I forgot I had it once.
Dude, you can combine Ultra Hand with Ascend and Recall to cheese so many of the shrines. Like, you might go, oh, well, this isn't that fun, but the way you have to do it is just like, it's like you're playing 4D chess. Like, you're out thinking the mechanics of the shrine, and it's dude, it's crazy. I've only had one shrine where I felt like I pulled off a 4D chess move, where I used all three abilities, which clearly you could tell by looking at it, this is not the intended solution. Mm-hmm. And I just cheesed the hell out of this, and this was sweet. And now I'm at where I need to be, and the shrine's over. It turns out you can do that in a lot of the shrines. You just have to wrap your mind around that's the biggest thing with these abilities, is I think compared to Breath of the Wild, these abilities are more inventive. Mm-hmm. But because they're more inventive, remember a phrase Aonuma kept putting out there before the game came out? Use your imagination. The limitations are your imagination.
Which sucks for me because I have a shitty imagination.
That's the problem. These abilities are so free and so crazy. Even Ascend. But there's even crazy things you can do with Fuse and Recall. I don't even want to get into that. It's hard for people who don't have, who can't think outside the box. You can, by the way, beat the game without thinking outside the box.
Yeah.
But the game really opens up once your imagination can. Once you start understanding the possibilities. Because really nothing is impossible right now, other than there's limitations to how many things you can stick together. And some of that might have been for frame rate reasons or something, but I personally want to know if there's a glitch that exists that I can stick unlimited things together, because that's what I need to build my ultimate floating castle that I want to do to take on Ganondorf at the end. I want to approach him with a floating castle on floating castle action. Let's go. Nice. I can't do it. I can make a floating keep. I can't make a floating castle because I've tried some clever things. Unfortunately, the weight of items is heightened when it's not glued. So it just makes it really hard to do. So a 20 item limitation sucks. I want a glitch that lets me glue unlimited. I can glue unlimited. Dude, I'm gonna don't want to know what this castle is going to be. I literally drew it out. Remember when we used to draw things out for strategies in games? I drew out how I want my castle to be.
Oh, damn.
And I found out that I need like 47 fuses.
Oh,
so like I need a glitch that gives me unlimited fuses or not fuses, unlimited ultra hand glues.
Yep.
But
nice.
But what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? But yeah, recalls. All these abilities are awesome. And I think that I think that's maybe one aspect where some people might have more fun with the game than others. Some might get frustrated because they don't have imagination and they like, I'm at the bottom of the well. Why do I got to teleport out every time? This is stupid. But people that can't really think outside the box go.
Yeah, I'm just not very like. I can't see something to build it. Like I can build myself a nice
imagining the solution.
I can build myself
and then
a nice
building some crazy
thing,
to get that solution.
Yeah,
like this is what makes me so fun with the sign stuff. Trying to make I look at it, I glance at the land, I look at it, and I go, "Oh, I know this will be simple. This will be easy." And then when it's not, and then I start going, "Okay, so let me go back to my original design. How can I tweak this? What could I? Okay, why did the sign fall that way? That didn't make any sense. Okay, well maybe it did because maybe the angle was off, and I didn't consider when it dropped because some of them are going to tilt." That tilt based on the tilt of the point that he's on
one side.
Actually, if you look at the physics, it makes sense that maybe it went this way. So then I put this beam here. But then when I did that, I didn't have a solid enough base on my whole structure. So my structure moved a bit, which knocked it the other way. Oh, and then there's the times when it's completely standing up and he gets mad at me because it's leaning just a degree too far. Too far. I'm like, dude, I've seen some of the times, man, that I held that sign up perfectly straight. And he said, "Oh, thanks for holding it." And then he nails it down, and then it's crooked anyways. So, so I don't want to hear that I'm a degree off. Right. If that sign is standing and that post is on the ground, hammer it down because you're going crooked anyways.
Right. There you go.
Like, hey, this game, man.
Yeah, it's insane.
I love Tears of the Kingdom. I have criticism. I brought a few up during the show. But it to me is it just takes Breath of the Wild and cranks it to infinity. And the big question, I suppose, is what's next. And I don't think we can talk about that until we complete the game.
Yeah.
At least the main story stuff. We can maybe get more into that. But oh, man. So what's your favorite aspect of the game so far? Is it just the shrines, the abilities? For me, it might even be the world building.
Yeah. I mean,
like the way that they take stuff that we're familiar with, but all of a sudden it's different. Like, have you done one of the raft quests yet where like you have to build a raft to take a guy up the river?
No.
Oh man.
No.
It's such a unique quest that takes an old situation and then refreshes it with a new way of thinking. And then when you get to the end, it's in an area of the old map that's completely changed because of Zelda. It's awesome. Some of you guys know what I'm talking about, I'm sure. So it's like a really nice payoff at the end to people who want to see changes in the world. This is like a significant change in the world for that small area. So yeah, man. I think if I'm so sorry, what was one of your favorite things? Or your absolute top favorite thing about the game?
I mean, I am liking the shrines.
And you've broken up the shrines a lot. I think
the caves are kind of cool. The wells are kind of cool.
Yeah.
I just
have you been to Hateno yet?
No, I don't think so yet.
Oh, but you're gonna love Hateno.
Yeah,
Hateno's awesome.
I just completed a quest where I had to go into 3 different caves to kill 3 different Hinox. So
I haven't done that one yet.
Yep. So I
think I saw Yulia do that one.
So that was kind of cool. Although I was kind of confused as to how some of these looked like they were almost down in the depths. So I was like, whoa, but they're not. It's hard to pick one thing because it is just different that it makes things God, it's different, but it feels the same. I don't know how to explain it. in my
Are you ever bored?
No, not really.
And that's the thing with this game.
I'm just having fun.
My favorite thing about Tears of the Kingdom is I'm never left not having something to do.
Oh yeah, the Bulba frogs.
Feeling bored.
The Bulba frogs are fun.
Even the Bulba frogs, you find them, you get them, you get your little bubble gem. I still don't even know what the bubble gem are used for.
What are these?
But I've got like 20 of them.
Yeah.
And you know what? When I find out what they're for, I think Yulia tried telling me because she's figured it out. But to say Yulia, look, guys, I have 80 hours in the game. I won't be surprised if Yulia's at 140, man. She when I'm working, she's playing. So like it's just it's just how it goes. But yeah, I'm just this game, there's so many things to say about it. You know, we've had a lot of developers out there, AAA developers, praising the game. A lot of it for just its mechanics and how it works, and how all the physics and all these abilities just work flawlessly without breaking and causing bugs. Like one thing I think sometimes the gamers we take advantage or we take for granted is when things just work because we expect them to. But that's not actually how most games happen. Like the physics engine in combination with these abilities is so impressive in this game because it is unlike any other game. Like people said, oh, we've been able to build things before nuts and bolts. Yeah, nuts and bolts you can't do most of the stuff you do in this game. Why? Because it breaks the game. It just fundamentally breaks the game. It's very, very difficult to do a lot of the things this game is doing. And while us as gamers are just expect it now because this Zelda team is just incredible. I mean, I think at this point, this present Zelda team as constructed with Aonuma at the top, Fujibayashi as the director, all the people under them, the team from Monolith Soft that helps them out, has, I think at this point, established themselves as one of the absolute premier development teams in all of gaming. It might be the premier development team in all of Nintendo at this point. And that's saying something considering Mario Odyssey, considering Animal Crossing and the success of Mario Kart and a lot of other Luigi's Mansion 3, etc. Like, but something about this Zelda team has made it like the envy of the whole industry.
To have a game this large and doing so many things, to have it be as little buggy as it is right now is almost unheard of nowadays. You get these big, massive games that just come out and they're just giant bugs.
Yeah.
And it's just annoying as hell.
And you know what? Nintendo's not free of this either. So the 4.0 update just released for Splatoon 3. And I'm super excited to dive into some of that stuff. The bug list fix is literally 5 pages in Microsoft Word. That's how many bugs 4.0 fixes. It's like, now look, I haven't ran into most of these bugs or knew they even were bugs, but they were bugs. And a lot of like pro players were noticing and taking advantage or this and that. And I'm just like, holy crap, that's a lot of bugs. You see the patch notes for Tears of the Kingdom, which probably isn't to version 4.0. I might never get to version 4.0. Oh yeah, we fixed the quest and some minor performance. So we fixed the quest and did some minor performance upgrades. Have a good day. Oh.
Yeah. Right. But then again,
like what? But where's all the bug fixes? Like, and the thing is, I'm not even hearing people complain about. Like, I'm not even hearing about bugs.
Right. To be fair, though, too, not every game that's this large also gets a year to completely polish things.
They should.
All
games should get a year to polish, in my opinion.
Right.
All of them.
But
every single one of them.
But they don't.
They should.
I agree.
Why not? I know deadlines, money. Okay.
Yeah.
But if you could polish and get more sales, why wouldn't you? Well, sales aren't guaranteed. I understand. But if you believe in your product,
I guarantee you
like, you don't think the next Elden Ring or whatever IP they do isn't going to get time. The From Software isn't going to give the time to polish.
Yeah. I mean,
that's why some of these development teams are the elite of the elite.
No, for sure.
Like, look how much time Rockstar gets to make, like, their next GTA game, or when they did Red Dead Redemption 2, how much time the elite of the elite do care and do take the time and do reap the sales benefits of it.
Right.
So I don't know why the rest of the industry hasn't caught on to be like, yeah, maybe it takes 8 years to make a game, 10 years to make a game. But when that game comes out, it outsells all the other games you released in the meantime combined by that same team.
Right. And especially with how some of these are so highly anticipated. and then they come out and they're just so, I mean, to the point where they're almost game breaking bugs.
Redfall.
And you just can't play them.
Forspoken.
That it's just terrible for
Pokemon Scarlet and Violet.
Yeah. I mean, for sure. It's
there you go. Example from all three systems.
Yeah.
Like games that needed more time and didn't get it.
Mm-hmm.
And now you got to worry like, oh, Forspoken to that is the next Assassin's Creed, Mirage. Oh, they gave it time, but did they give it enough time?
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, we expect the Call of Duty and the Maddens of the world to have their problem. Madden's inexcusable. Call of Duty is not nearly as broken as Madden. Madden's inexcusable.
Mm-hmm.
NFL needs to cancel that license tomorrow.
100%,
or at least cancel the exclusivity clause
Right.
and let someone else come in.
Right.
But
that would cause EA to fix some shit.
no, I know, because they'd have competition.
Right.
You know, Madden was good when they had competition.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that what this team did with Zelda is obviously special. It makes them one of the premier teams.
Impressive.
They already were after Breath of the Wild, and we could argue the Zelda team's always been really good. Yeah, I'm not knocking Skyward Sword, Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, Link Between Worlds, etc. Like I'm not knocking all these games. They're amazing. I love the Zelda franchise. But when you become a premier team, it's not just about releasing games that get really well reviewed. It's also about releasing games that are really well reviewed and get the sales to back it up. And Zelda's never really been able to do that. Zelda's always been sort of it sells good enough.
Mm-hmm. Good enough to get another
but
game.
It doesn't really feel like it sells what it should for the review ratings it gets.
Mm-hmm.
Breath of the Wild changed the game with that. Tears of the Kingdom continued to change the game with that. So now they're getting the sales recognition to back up their efforts as a development team that validates how amazing the development team really is. You're getting the praise from all the outside developers, the same developers that were also praising things like Elden Ring. So it's crazy. Like it might be another, dare I say, 6-7 years before we get another Zelda game.
Just because of
I'm not. By the way, I'm not talking about remasters and remakes. Right. I'm not talking about a new top-down Zelda that Grezzo might be working on. This Zelda team, as constructed, it could be another 6 or 7 years before we get another Zelda.
Effort and attention to detail that they put into these games,
and the sales justify them taking.
100%. Yeah,
rushing out 2 other Zelda games of lesser quality with old school stylings, not open world.
Yeah,
will not combined sell better than the game that they spend the time 6 or 7 years to make.
For sure. Not at all.
I mean, that's reality. That's what's like. We waited over 6 years for this one.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, guys, it's going to probably be another 5-6 years for the next, at least, maybe 7.
Yeah.
Because they're going to be working on new hardware. Granted, they probably would already be working on new hardware right now behind the scenes, because they'd have to know their next Zelda games are coming out on this hardware.
Right.
So that they would already you assume that the internal Nintendo teams have dev units, so they would be working on, the next hardware already for the new Zelda game. But yeah, man.
Yeah, it's
like even thinking about that, God, I might be in my mid-40s. By the time the next major Zelda game from this Zelda team comes out.
I'll be hitting my 40.
Yeah, screw you.
Oh God, I'm only a year younger than you. Shut up.
Give a crap.
Yeah,
give a crap. Yeah, you.
Yeah,
youngin.
Well, I
don't even know if Yulia will be 40. So,
nope, not in 6 years.
No,
because I will be 41.
No, she won't be. She'll be 38.
Yeah, I'll be 41 in 6 years. So,
I did get myself a younger woman. There's a reason for that.
Yeah.
Anyways,
yeah.
All right. Well, we don't really have anything else on the docket. What we can do is open the floor to the chat, since it's just a little 2-person podcast. No idea what happened to Darren. He probably gave up and went and played Tears of the Kingdom instead.
His PC was
having problems. I don't know. He's got to figure it out for next week. So let's open it up to the floor, and we could take some questions from the chat. So just at Nintendo Prime in the chat, if you want to bring anything forward for this show. We'll give you guys maybe 20-30 minutes at the most here. We'll see what discussions come of it until we get some questions coming in. Are there any video games you're looking forward to next for any of the platforms?
Plucky Squire. 100% looking forward to that. It just from the first freaking trailer.
And on the next trailer, looks even better.
Yes.
The Plucky Squire looks like it might deliver.
The Plucky Squire
looks like it might.
Looks like it.
Hopefully delivers.
Yes.
But damn. So Samuel A says, what do you think? Well, I can feature the question here so people know what we're talking about. What do you think the next Zelda? What do you think is the next for Zelda to fill in the time between now and the next mainline game?
Probably some sort of. I mean, you got to have some sort of remakes.
I mean, the Wind Waker and Twilight Princess HD makes sense. I think they, instead of them being HD, they'll be 4K on the new system. So like those are like the obvious ones. The question is, do they ever get to the point that they remake something like Ocarina of Time? I know they did the 3D version, but then do they ever do it in HD? That's something that we don't know, and that's a bigger undertaking. Do they ever Link's Awakening-esque remake, Link to the Past or something like that? Probably. I mean, Grezzel's doing something.
Yeah.
So like we're going to get remakes and remasters in between for sure. I fully expect probably another Hyrule Warriors, maybe even. I mean, Age of Calamity was their best-selling one, I think, ever.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't they go back to that well?
Yeah. I mean, where do you think they bring the oracles up?
A lot of people want them.
Where would they put it? Would they bring it in as
the oracles in Minish Cap? A lot of people want them. I mean, they could obviously add them to NSO,
right?
But just in terms of like,
could they do
make it fresh again?
Could they do a 3-pack game?
But I mean, technically, the Minish Cap's not really related to the Oracle games. So
fair enough.
Now, the Oracle games were supposed to have a third game, but I mean that never happened. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's gonna be remakes and remasters. That's really what they're probably gonna focus on next. I would love there to be a brand new top-down traditional style Zelda game from the Grezzo team, but we technically don't know. Also, there was some leaks a while back about a mobile Zelda thing in the works.
Interesting.
That technically hasn't had an update in a long time. Now, there being a mobile game for Zelda should be too surprising. We have one for Mario, Animal Crossing, Fire Emblem. So like there eventually being a Zelda one shouldn't be a shocker. And I'm curious what it's going to be. So that has piqued my curiosity. Just trying to figure out what there could possibly be on the mobile space, because I have a phone. I'll download it like I did.
Oh yeah.
And then Samwa said, I just beat my first Gleeok. They're indeed just as hard as the original Legend of Zelda version. So you're saying that as like the original Zelda version was easy or hard? I don't know what it was for you, Samwa. Right. Some people think the original is easy. Some people think it's hard. So like, it's really subjective.
Right.
So it has to be in the context of your experience.
Ventus wants to know if you're going to do a spoiler discussion when you finish the story. They got thoughts and opinions that they need to express somewhere.
Okay. I've had a lot of people ask me when we're going to do some sort of spoiler cast. And it will clearly be marked. Obviously, I'm not doing it until I beat the story. Right. Once I beat the story, that's probably when. I have to start. But the problem for me is Eric.
Yeah.
Now I could just schedule something and disclude Eric from the whole conversation, and that's fine. I could.
Fine too. Yeah.
It
is what it is.
Because I don't want Eric to feel like he's pressured now to have to bum rush the game. I want him to play it the way that he would play a game, because that's how I'm playing it. That's why I haven't beat the story. Could I have beaten the story by now? Absolutely. But I'm not rushing to do that. Part of me feels like I should, but I'm not going to. So when will that be? I mean, I would like to say by the end of June or at some point, but I don't know. But there are a lot of things to discuss that aren't being discussed because people aren't doing spoiler casts. So I do think we will have one. And I'll obviously have me on it. I'll just restart. Maybe I'll get some other Zelda YouTubers on. We'll see. I'm sure. I know Nick Barrett beat the game. He's going to want to really go in depth on stuff. So we'll see. Darren, I know for sure. My God, the guy,
right.
All he does, he's literally texting me spoilers.
What an asshat.
I'm like, have you done this? Well, thanks for telling me that's a thing you can do. Didn't even know.
Nope.
Darren.
No, I did.
Stop talking to me about Zelda until I tell you I beat the game, man.
Right.
All right. If you're watching, Darren, stop telling me things until I tell you I beat the game.
Right.
But yeah, that's just the way something goes. Boo one game, he said, how about a Link to the Past remake? I mean, yeah, obviously. Yeah. Oh, this is cool. Yeah, this is new.
Oh yeah, that is new.
Well, that'll be useful in the future when I get lost.
Oh yeah.
Anyways, yeah, guys, we're not getting a ton of questions coming in, which is totally fine. Joyce J says the original guy because Tears of the Kingdom like his revenge. Some people struggled with everything in the original Zelda because you're so limited in your movements and the enemies hit kind of hard. But if you grew up playing the game, then that's just the way the games were back then. Like games back on the NES were unforgiving, so it might not really feel like that hard for the era if you grew up in that era. But if you didn't and you went back and played it, you might go, man, this is difficult. I'm like, well, yeah, the game doesn't hold your hand, that's for sure. We do have a question coming in from Samuel A here. He says, do you think backwards compatibility, or how do you think it's handled? I mean, I think it's going to be simple. You put your Switch cartridge in and it just works.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, just like 3DS and DS.
Mm-hmm.
I think it'll just work. I think that's the goal anyways.
Right. But how do you, you got to also make it though, then that you can't put the Switch 2 cartridges back into your Switch and play them.
Someone asked if I visited, I believe he meant Tingle Island naked and receive a hard piece. That's a thing. Well, thanks for spoiling it for me. You know what? I wouldn't have found it anyways. I never run around naked in the game. So I guess I'll run naked to Tingle Island and see what happens.
Yeah.
This is an interesting one that, again, we can elaborate more, I think, in a spoiler cast. Will there be a trilogy? Yes or no? But I said this before the game came out that I'll know the answer to that after I beat the game.
Mm-hmm.
I got to see how the story ends.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think that just my feeling at the moment is no shit.
Yeah. Oh,
you don't sell 30 million, then you don't have the next one break sales records that Breath of the Wild set for the series and possibly sell another 25 to 30 million. And then just say, yep, we have a new system coming. Let's just throw away all of that. Now, do I think the next one will take place in a new land? Maybe.
Mm-hmm. But
can it still be a direct sequel to Tears of the Kingdom? Yes. I just have to see how the story ends.
Right.
Before I can really go into it.
Is it a direct sequel? Maybe not. I mean,
it's the same link. It's direct sequel to me. That's if it is.
Right.
But again, I don't know.
Yes. Well, in Andre's case, he already said that Skyward Sword was the first in the trilogy, and he's including that, according to him.
lot of people say that because of Fujibayashi. Here's what I will say about
so technically this
about the people that argue that Skyward Sword, from what because I've done all the Dragon Tears, I've got a lot of the story.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, guys. No.
Oh my gosh.
No.
Alexa, shut up.
The point is that I am at a point where I can confidently say that no, Skyward Sword is not the first part of a trilogy for this game. It's actually a little shocking how little Skyward Sword is referenced at all. All the things that we thought before the game came out were references to Skyward Sword. A lot of them actually aren't. So far, I can confidently say Skyward Sword ain't no first part of some damn trilogy. It's just the first game that the director of these games directed. That's it. Mm-hmm. That's the connection. Doesn't mean anything at all. That's like saying The Wind Waker is like, a direct sequel to Majora's Mask and a part of a quadrilogy or whatever you want to call it, 4 games, because it's Majora's Mask was the first game that AJ Noma directed. Like, it just no. That being said, some people will argue Age of Calamity, and that's a whole other thing to get into. Let's see here if there's any other questions. Just scrolling down. I think that
seen a whole lot
might
questions.
I think that might do it for today, which is awesome. So almost as if Skyward Sword was a legend of Zelda. Hey, oh my, Charles!
Hey, mic drop.
That's not gonna do anything.
Oh dang!
I forgot. This is like not working.
Oh
right
dang it!
The stream.
Oh wait, hold on.
It doesn't work.
Any of the other ones? Any of the other buttons work? Oh. Ray.
Eric.
Yeah, there you go.
You know what?
Yes.
You're a ass.
Yeah, right.
I don't know why I would be that whole.
Yeah, right. Nice.
Anyways,
Yeah.
thank you guys for tuning in to the Turner Prime podcast. Really old school edition. Just Eric and I. We haven't done one of these in forever.
Word.
I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope people didn't think I didn't let Eric talk. I tried.
No. I actually said a whole lot, I think, today. So
yes, I tried. This might have been one of the best Eric and Nate podcasts with the OGs.
Honestly, I did not feel like you were stepping on me a lot. So
a lot.
No,
but I did.
I mean, yes, but it honestly not like the past. You were a whole hell of a lot better today than what you have been.
That's because I'm still like in host mode where I just everyone else talk. Oh wait, there's only two of them. Shit.
Yeah, right. Oh yeah,
I have to talk today.
Yeah, right. So,
all right, guys. Well, thank you so much for tuning into the Turner Prime podcast. I don't have to tell you about any other guests because they weren't here. So instead, you can go ahead and follow Eric on Twitter at emo8790 if you're interested. He doesn't really tweet at all, but he reads tweets. So if you tweet at him, he will read it. So that's one way. If you want to, especially get a hold of me and I'm ignoring you, sometimes tweeting at Eric will guarantee that I will hear what you said. You will because Eric will send it to me and go, "What are you doing? Yeah. You are an idiot."
Yeah, right. I have done that before.
Yes, that has happened. Prime Gaming Fest especially happens quite a bit. We have Prime Gaming Fest going on next week. Obviously, we'll hopefully have the full details up at the end of this week. We're at least going to have all the streams scheduled up and ready for you guys to go and get into. The schedule is filling out. There's just new events being announced. Like we just yesterday had the Devolver Digital Direct get announced. So like new things are being announced every day. So like I'm refusing to fill out the slate with all of our stuff till I know what all the game announcement slates are going to be. And even then, happens every year. There'll be stuff we didn't know about, and that'll get added last minute. Then we got to move things around in the schedule. We still have some companies still sending some stuff out. We just had some more game codes get added to our giveaway today. Shout out to Rebellion for providing some game codes. They provided some in the past. They've come through again this year. Thank you to them. So you guys are awesome. We have a lot happening. You can hear our podcast everywhere the podcasts are heard. And we'll catch you in the next video.
Peace.
Podcast, right? This is a podcast.
Yeah.
Damn it. Nate, remember what a podcast is.
Wait.
Podcast. Yes.
Peace.
Later.